Alright, man, peace. You know, brothers, according to the official census reports of the United States of America, so-called black men represent anywhere from 6 to 10% of the U.S. population. And that's why I find it so ridiculous that any so-called black man would accept this notion that they should feel privileged to be in the NBA or the NFL because they represent 70 to 75% of the overall racial demographic within those two sports leagues. It's very obvious that they should not consider themselves privileged, but it's actually the NBA or the NFL that should consider themselves privileged to have the so-called black man in their league. Why is that? Because it's very clear that they themselves deduce that they must view the so-called black man as a superlative athlete and a superior athlete. They must believe that because they go above and beyond to try to draft so-called black men, and even in the NCAAs to recruit so-called black men. So they must see something in you that they don't want you to see in yourself. So that brings us to Mr. Zion Williamson. And it's always amazing that as one unbelievable transcendent athlete is almost on his way out, that another one emerges. Going all the way back to the 1960s. As Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell were winding down, they got Lou Alcindor. As Dr. J was winding down, they got Michael Jordan. As Michael Jordan was winding down, they brought in LeBron James. And now we have this brother right here, Zion Williamson. So, of course, the comparisons are going to be, can he live up to what LeBron James was able to accomplish in his career? Because he was the most hyped athlete that I've ever seen, LeBron James. And he not only has lived up to the hype, but he's transcended it. You know what? I would say LeBron James and Tiger Woods. They were the two most hyped athletes that I've ever seen in my lifetime. And they both lived up to it. So hopefully, this brother will be able to do the same. So they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
If you're a sports fan, I'm going to assume you've probably seen the YouTube video. Zion Williamson looking like the Hulk, dunking over everybody in high school. So there are really high expectations for the young star when he decided to join Coach K and those Blue Devils. And so far, he is certainly living up to the hype. Let me give you some numbers. Zion Williamson led Duke with 21 points on 10 of 12 shooting, including 2 dunks that made the top 10 last night. One of the dunks made you instantly think of who? LeBron James. Zion and teammate R.J. Barrett now hold the Duke freshman record for most points in the first 3 games with 76. Stephen A., let me ask you this. Can Zion live up to the LeBron hype?
Well, he should not be concerned with living up to the LeBron hype. He should be concerned with making sure that he maximizes and optimizes whatever gifts he's been given by the Most High. Now, in regards to his official history, I have to delve into Mr. Zion Williamson just to check out his origins. But I'll get to that when I get the opportunity. But just looking at things at face value, that's the first thing that they try to do to many of these athletes. Not just the black ones, but just predominantly the so-called black athletes. Can you live up to Michael Jordan? Can you live up to LeBron James? Can you live up to Kobe? Can you live up to Jerry Rice? No, all they have to do is live up to themselves.
Yes, he can. I'm not saying he's going to be the same kind of player that LeBron is.
Stephen A. Smith, please understand what you're saying. Molly Karam just asked you if Zion Williamson could live up to the LeBron James hype. Why would he be concerned with living up to another man's hype? That makes no sense whatsoever. Beyond that, LeBron James is a player who's going to end his career with somewhere around 40,000 points, 10 or 11,000 assists, and somewhere around 10,000 rebounds. That's a lot that you're putting on that young brother Zion Williamson.
What I mean in answering that question is that whatever your expectations are from watching him is something that he can continue on the next level. I need folks to understand what I'm trying to say. My God.
Yeah.
This brother right here.
Every morning, the
Zion
meeting calls.
Williamson.
Stephen A. gets all excited about it. He's like, did you see Zion last night?
Listen.
Yeah, he's a freakish athlete. He has freakish explosion. There's no doubt about that. To be 285 pounds and be able to get off the ground like that, it's pretty unbelievable.
I don't get caught up in dunks.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm seeing this guy jump to near the top of the backboard. Vertically. It ain't like taking off and jumping off of one leg.
Yeah.
He's jumping off of 2. Okay? It's not that.
Contest,
it's not that. It's the fact that he's 280. It's It's the fact that it's muscles. It ain't fat. I had somebody walk up to me on the streets the other day. Stephen A., do you feel like he could, I mean, that's a lot of weight to carry around. What is he going to do? I said, have you seen those legs? Have you seen those tree trunks for legs?
I agree with that, Stephen A. Smith, but at the same time, with that level of explosion running on a hardwood floor, he is going to have to consider slimming down a bit. Because if he doesn't, the impact that it's constantly going to cause on his knees, it is going to lead to some deleterious effects down the line.
Legs that he walks around with. It's not like it's an upside down inverted pyramid.
But I do agree, his legs are very well proportioned to his body.
It's like an inverted pyramid or something where it's like this. No, it's massive. It's girth. It's muscle. It's power. And oh, by the way, let me get to the skill part. He's averaging 25 and 10 in college. 25 and 10 in college, right?
Well, Steve, it's only been a couple of games. Let's see how he does in the NCAA tournament.
Right? It gets better. He's shooting 82% from the field. 82%. I mean, 82%.
Yeah, I know.
This dude, listen, I've talked to NBA players who are grown men that have said, I ain't taking no offensive foul from that guy. Already, he ain't even in the...
Well, most of these NBA players, they don't play any defense anyway. So is that supposed to be some type of revelation? That they're not going to take a charge from a 6'7", 285-pound Mack truck with a 48-inch vertical leap? We know that already. The question is going to be, how is LeBron James going to react when this dude dunks on him?
In the pros yet, and they see him coming. They see him coming.
That's already going to be the big hype for next year. The first matchup between Zion Williamson and LeBron James.
This,
have your popcorn ready.
brother, this young kid right here, Zion, RJ Barrett's the best overall player on the team. But this dude, because of his mass, his girth, his power, you know, he got a handle and capacity and all of that other stuff. But the fact that he has the athleticism, the agilities, and the ability that he has at 6'7", 280 pounds, he is an elevated version of Charles Barkley. I
would agree with that comparison. That's the comparison that I agree with the most, especially due to the fact that he can actually play make, which Charles Barkley could do. And a lot of people don't understand that. A lot of people don't grasp how great a player and how impactful Charles Barkley was. His issue was that he just could not stay in shape.
God, this brother.
Yeah.
The answer is no. It's very unlikely he lives up to the LeBron hype. But
I agree. Nor should he be trying to.
But I don't really compare him exactly to LeBron. I think those kind of comparisons are unfair.
I agree, sir.
The two most hyped players in history both amazingly exceeded their height coming out of college or coming out of the
LeBron and who?
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and LeBron James.
Okay.
Kareem in his day and LeBron in this day were hyped beyond belief, you know, for the era, and somehow wound up even better than that.
Yeah.
And interestingly, Kareem and LeBron are really in a competition for second best player who ever lived behind Michael Jordan. Zion Williamson is just a long shot that anyone ever winds up one of the top 2 or 3 players who ever lived. I don't see him as living up to LeBron hype. Here's my question for Zion Williamson. Who, by the way, is the answer to what's the best show in sports right now? Is it Patrick Mahomes? You know, who is it? I think at this moment in time, the snapshot right now is Zion Williamson. That's can't miss TV right now.
Well, he's up there, but I'll take Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes reminds me so much of John Elway.
Right now in the world of sports. To me, you mentioned Charles Barkley. I also think of Blake Griffin. And to a lesser extent, Sean Kemp.
Totally agree with all those comps right there. Completely agree.
The question with Zion Williamson is, can a wide-bodied, kind of multi-dimensional player like him be the best player on a championship team? Barkley never won a championship.
Well, Max Kellerman, the answer to that is directly correlated with how consistent his three-point shot becomes, or his long-range shooting in general. Because when he first comes into the NBA, the first thing that they're going to do is play him for the jump shot. So if he can count on his long-range shooting, especially his three-point shot, and he can consistently make his free throws, that's going to go a long way in determining if he's a guy that you can build around on a championship contending team.
And Blake Griffin obviously hasn't even really competed for a championship yet, and may never. And the question is, can that kind of player physically, and he's an exaggerated version of that kind of player, be the best player on a championship team, given his skill set, which is more diverse than Barkley's or Blake's? The answer may...
His skill set is not more diverse than Charles Barkley's. Charles Barkley was just as good, if not a better passer than him, and had just as good, if not better, a handle. Charles was just not as gifted in regards to his overall physique. He was not quite as tall and not quite as explosive. Go look up some of Charles Barkley's numbers, especially starting in the 86-87 season. Just an incredible player.
Maybe, yes. I mean, he's a rim defender somehow at 6'7", at least in college.
Well, shit, if he's 6'7" and has a 48-inch vertical, he's going to be a great rim defender or a great rim protector, because that vertical makes him more like 7'6" than 6'7".
He's grabbing rebounds. He can shoot it. He can put it on the floor. He can pass. He can finish at the rim, obviously. Maybe he could be the one that fits that body type, to a lesser extent Karl Malone and Sean Kemp. But
Right, but Karl Malone could not do the things that I've seen this kid do in a couple games. He just couldn't. And Karl Malone was nowhere near the explosive athlete that this young man is. This dude has a 48-inch vertical. Karl Malone had a 28-inch vertical.
the kind of absurd athlete, but not the long, lanky guy, the block of concrete, who, because of the nature of basketball, that body type hasn't been ideal. Can he be the one?
Because of the way the NBA game is played in this day and age, there's two things that you have to watch out for. A is the three-point shot, okay? Because if you need shooters. But B is the kind of powerful athlete that comes along, that generational kind of physical specimen, where you just move out the way. I remember in the 80s when Barkley...
Yeah, similar to Shaq. Since they're talking about players who came into the NBA extremely hyped and lived up to the hype, Shaquille O'Neal was one of the more hyped players that I can remember. He came into the NBA in 1992, and right away, he became, if not more popular, right there with Michael Jordan in regards to immediate popularity. Like, he was like a circus act. Like everybody wanted to see Shaq play because he was pulling down rims, he was breaking backboards, he was dunking over people. It was incredible his first couple years.
Came onto the NBA scene. And do you know how many times people just moved out of his way because you saw him come?
That was the mailman.
Now we've seen...
That's Karl Malone.
That's Karl Malone on the fast break.
Right, but Barkley could put it on the floor.
Barkley could put it on the floor better. That's why I didn't use Karl Malone. I used Barkley. As massive, as massive as Karl Malone was, he could take you in the post and he could make you feel his presence. He was an enforcer.
Kemp also like that, like more like Malone.
Yeah, but Kemp, you were just scared to get embarrassed. That was the difference. He was a high flyer. In Barkley's case, you literally saw Barkley dribbling up the court, and you went like this. I ain't standing in front of this room, moving the hell out the way. Yeah.
Barkley also had a great handle, so he was able to evade defenders when he was on one of those locomotive one-man fast breaks.
That's Zion. You're going to see people moving out of the way, parting like the Red Sea, because they don't want this guy running over
I'll give you another comparison, but he's not, but the same kind of hype coming out of college, not the LeBron hype, maybe the Shaq hype. Shaq...
I agree, sir.
Shaq wasn't the best college player in the world, but it was clear that he was going to be a generational pro player.
Dominate.
I remember that there was a bit of a controversy when Shaquille O'Neal did not make the Dream Team roster and they chose Christian Laettner. But of course, there was a reason why they did that. Christian Laettner was a far more accomplished college player than Shaq, but even back then, it was already understood that Shaq was going to be the better pro prospect.
Zion Williamson is like physically different than everyone else the way Shaq was physically
different. And that's
different.
all I mean. When you say the comparisons, it's not about comparing him to LeBron's game. It's that the height that LeBron received, he exceeded it. You're looking at Zion. He's a different player.
Different.
But the height that you attach to him, I believe he will live up to that.
Let me end it with this.
He's the #1 overall pick.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. Even if he's not necessarily the best overall prospect in regards to skill level, what he's going to bring in box office would definitely make him the #1 overall pick.
Yes.
In a draft right now.
Zion Williamson has more dunks than missed shots this season. I'll leave you on that note.
You see that dunk right? You see that footage right there? You see that? That's the LeBron dunk. He did a
and the touch and the subtle skill.
When we come back, how about some...
But anyway, that's basically it on that. We'll see how things turn out for this brother Zion Williamson. Hopefully, he's able to live up to his own expectations, because that should be all that matters. So peace.